Friends, if I were to briefly sum up today's results, the good ones, it would be short, vivid, and emotional. And vivid not only on a personal everyday level, but also on a global scale. The SBU, as you may already know, and for those who don't, I'm happy to share this news, destroyed 7 aircraft at once at the airport at the Saky Airfield in Crimea. They've been moving those planes around for a long time, constantly in fact, so that we can't reach them, can't find them. That sense of ease is gone now. It's not like in 2022 when they just stood out in the open. Everyone understands about drones now, everyone understands about reconnaissance, so the planes are constantly being moved and immediately hidden on sight. That's why we had been watching those hangars in Saky for a long time, but we waited until, so to speak, the prey went in there. Our hunters are patient. Once the prey entered, we hit the hangars at the airfield in Saky. 7 planes were destroyed or heavily damaged. An excellent result. This is the second raid, the second strike on this airfield. But it seems they decided that lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. And if the SBU hit the airfield and burned something there, 2 fighter jets, then it would be safe to bring in the bombers. It didn't work out. We were waiting for them, we anticipated this, and it hit a second time. And by the way, the Gvardeyskoye airfield was also hit, the hangars were targeted. There weren't planes there. In one hangar there were spare parts, in the other, Shaheds, which are also quite valuable, tasty targets, and useful. Now, these Shaheds are burning and exploding on the spot instead of flying to Ukraine, which you have to agree is great. Next, a message from analysts and observers. These are sources cited by Reuters saying that after the drone attack on Lukoil's largest oil refinery, Nizhny Novgorod Nefteorg Syntez, located in the city of Kstovo, the refinery stopped operations. The fact that it's Lukoil's largest refinery doesn't matter to us, it's the second largest in Russia. Let me remind you, the first is Omsk, which we're eyeing. It's 2,500 kilometers away, we're waiting. Meanwhile, officials in Russia claim that there's enough gasoline, that it's just hype, just nerves, that's all. Otherwise everything is fine, we're managing. That's not true at all, and the lines prove it with their aggression. I still post there every few hours, sharing the most striking videos of fights at gas stations on Telegram. Let me remind you, the official Telegram channel is Sazonov Official. The link is in the channel description, but you can also find it on your own. If you're interested, check it out. But as I said, while they're still just punching each other in the face, then pepper spray started appearing. Soon they'll move on to cold weapons, and after that to firearms. Well, of course, it's only natural to arm yourself. And now, a new level. St. Petersburg, the cultural capital. In Russia, a guy with his girlfriend, there's a photo too, arrived at the Rosneft gas station. There was a line and something went wrong. One pulled up to the pump, the other walked over and said something. The one sitting in the car spoke for himself. The other guy started yanking the door, so the first one jumped out and pulled a pistol, but it turned out that just having a pistol at your waist isn't enough, because the second opponent pulled out a knife, did it faster and stabbed the would-be cowboy in the chest. So, one ended up in the hospital, the other in the police station. Beautiful, beautiful, that's St. Petersburg for you. It's scary to imagine what will happen in Kazan, Naberezhny Chelny, and Moscow. In short, everything goes on. Well, aside from these pleasant little details, there are actually serious problems. In Russia, they've already started having trouble harvesting crops because there's not enough gasoline. As of July 1st, only half as much land has been harvested compared to last year. Fuel deliveries are delayed and its price has gone up. As a result, the quality of the harvest may suffer due to late collection. And secondly, they might not be able to gather everything in time, they might not make it, and export contracts could be disrupted. It can only be welcomed that in Crimea, 3 major enterprises have halted quarry development. And Crimean farmers also don't know what to do with their harvest. It seems like they have it, but they can't collect it because there's no gasoline. And the gasoline that can be found is scarce and too expensive. So Russian agriculture is heading in the same direction as the gasoline. And in a few months they will definitely be hit by a food crisis as well. That is, rising food prices, falling export revenues, and all sorts of misfortunes. If right now they're grabbing knives and guns at gas stations, fighting over gasoline, I can't even imagine what will happen when they start fighting over food. Fights over food are always scarier than fights over gasoline. So let's wait, we'll probably see this closer to the end of autumn. And that's for sure, regardless of the situation at the front. Friends, subscribe to the Ukrainian Samurai channel. If there's news, I'll be happy to keep you updated. There will be a lot of interesting things. Support the channel with a like, a repost, and a subscription. Glory to Ukraine.